Welcome to the Lyme Healing Circle. Today we're going over 3 things that Lyme teaches you over time. These things are not immediately obvious to people who get diagnosed with Lyme disease, but over time they reveal themselves and we see exactly whatever it is we need to learn, which I'll go over in this video. So, thank you for being here. We go live every Wednesday to do the Lyme Healing Circle, where we talk about living with Lyme disease and how to get better and different things we can do in order to take back our body and feel like ourselves again. My name is Ryan Kearns. I had Lyme disease back in 2016. It affected me deeply. I was luckily able to get better using all natural methods. And now I share everything that I've learned over the years with all of you. And if you're new here, hit the like button if this video gives you value. Hit the subscribe button so that we can continue giving you value every single day. Now let's dive into this. So here's why this conversation matters in the first place. Lyme is not just a physical illness. There's a lot more to it than that. It affects identity, safety, and trust in your own body. Oftentimes people think like, oh, it's just some microbe affecting us. Well, that's true. It ends up having deep-seated, difficult effects in our life that affect our identity, our safety, and the way that we feel in our own body. And healing often teaches us lessons that, frankly, no one prepared you for. And you didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for Lyme disease. Nobody asks for Lyme disease. It's thrust upon us, and it's up to us to deal with that reality. So, lesson number 1 is about using herbs. So, if you didn't know, herbal therapy is an excellent way to fight back against Lyme disease. And there's a lot of different reasons for that, but herbs work by supporting the body, not overpowering it. See, with antibiotics, a lot of times we are killing our gut microbes. We're killing our microbiome, and that's where our immune system lives. So this ends up having a negative effect long term, especially if you're using antibiotics over the long term. Now, that's not to say don't ever use antibiotics. They have their place, and they're very important, very powerful, and some might say too powerful when it comes to Lyme disease, but that's a conversation for another day. Herbs, on the other hand, support different pathways in the body, and they don't kill gut bacteria. Instead, a lot of times they actually help gut bacteria. And using single herbs specifically, instead of, herbs that are all mixed together into one single capsule, allows you to listen to your body and respond clearly to what is going on. And that is why we started LymeWars.com, to make that available and easy for more people. And intentional experimentation with herbs can teach your body exactly what it can handle and what's going to work and what doesn't. So, Lyme Wars herbs were chosen for clarity, flexibility, and respect for individuality. And you are a completely unique person. Your journey with Lyme disease is not going to look the same as mine or the same as anybody else's. And so that's why we keep our herbs separate, to make sure that you can experiment with different layers of herbs and hopefully learn clarity and understand which herbs help you and your body in your very specific and individual case. And so that's what makes Lyme Wars herbs so different. If you're interested in checking them out or trying them, just go to LymeWars.com. They cost less than a cup of coffee per day. And this morning I got this very interesting email from Miguel, who's been with Lyme Wars for a long time now. He's gotten excellent results using Lyme Wars herbs. But he said, "Hey Ryan, I've been experimenting with the Lyme Wars herbs. I was trying to see if I would be okay with just one herb. Of the 3, I decided on Japanese knotweed to see how it would go. But after 10 days, the symptoms returned. That sucks. So I went back to andrographis and the symptoms disappeared again." See, he didn't have symptoms for a long time, so he wanted to experiment and figure out which herb was actually helping the most. So he said, "Why did the symptoms return with only Japanese knotweed? Isn't this herb an antibiotic, or does it serve other functions? Do you think it would be a good idea to try only andrographis, or are these experiments of mine inappropriate? I wanted to try this to avoid overloading my liver and body. What do you think about this? Thanks. So I did already answer Miguel via email, but I wanted to share it here because I think this is very relevant to a lot of people. I think a lot of people are wondering how to experiment with herbs specifically for Lyme disease and how to think about this problem and whether or not, like, which herb is going to work specifically for you in your individual case. Well, herbs are not one-dimensional. Not all herbs do the same exact thing. And antimicrobial is an oversimplification of how herbs work. See, herbs affect multiple different pathways in the body. They're not just antimicrobial. So different herbs actually support different systems. So, for example, Japanese knotweed is known for being very good for circulation and blood vessel dilation and, blood cells and supporting blood cells and even crossing the blood-brain barrier, protecting the brain and protecting the heart. While andrographis is more or less known as an anti-spirochetal, known for killing spirochete microbes and its effects against those, but also for its effects on the gut microbiome, health effects of the gut microbiome, and feeding those healthy gut bacteria with prebiotics. Cat's claw is known for immune system modulation. So they're all known for different pathways. They're not all the same, and they're not just antimicrobial, although they've been tested as antimicrobials to see if they had antimicrobial effects against Borrelia burgdorferi, and all of them did. They had positive effects against Borrelia burgdorferi, and you can look up the study. Just type in herbs for Lyme disease study on Google, and you'll see that they did a very big study on this and found that they had positive effects killing some of these microbes. But that's not their main purpose. That's not their main goal. See, their main goal is to support and uplift the body more than anything else. So simplifying, like Miguel did, meaning taking less herbs or taking only one specific herb, changes the function of how the herbs work, not just the load of the microbes in the body. So removing herbs doesn't just reduce stress on the body and the liver like expected. It changes which supports are actually present in your approach, right? So, for example, if you stop taking Japanese knotweed, you stop supporting circulation, blood vessel dilation, and all of the health benefits on the blood-brain barrier and on the blood cells. Where if you stop taking cat's claw, you stop getting the immune system modulation effects. So symptoms returning after stopping one of these doesn't mean failure or that you did anything wrong whatsoever. Symptoms returning is just a signal for us to see what was working and what your body needed the most help with at that time. So single herb experiments aren't wrong at all. I don't want Miguel or anyone else to feel wrong for experimenting with herbs. I think it's actually a really smart and a great idea. And as he said, he was trying to reduce the effects on the liver and on the body of taking a lot of, supplements. Sometimes people end up in overkill, right? They overload their body with supplements, and our body needs to break those things down. It needs to shuttle nutrients throughout the body, and the liver needs to process and handle all of those herbs or supplements. So sometimes it could feel like we're taking way too much, and it does feel better when we reduce the amount that we're taking every day. Mentally, it feels better, and it also can help the body long term when we do that, because we don't have to break down and use and utilize so much stuff. And oftentimes some of the supplements we take aren't the cleanest either. However, that's why we take third-party testing so seriously at LymeWars.com, because we really want to make sure it's the cleanest, highest quality, most potent product available. And I wouldn't put anything else out otherwise, because I take these myself. I give them to my kids. I give them to my parents. This is very serious to me. So again, single herb experiments, like taking only one herb at a time, isn't wrong. It's great. It's informational. The goal is not to find the one right herb, though. Instead, the goal is to learn how your system responds to that single herb that you're testing, that you're experimenting with. And so good on you, Miguel, for giving it a try and trying to figure out what your body's working well with. But clarity is often more valuable than complexity, right? If just throwing more and more protocols and products at our body was the answer, less people would be sick. And so it's more valuable sometimes to have that clarity and that very understanding which herbs are helping your body the most by going through these types of experiments is very valuable. And by the way, I forgot to say in the beginning of this video, if you have any questions, I will answer them at the end. So go ahead, post your questions in the chat. I'll answer any and all questions at the end. So, one reason we chose individual herbs rather than blends is exactly this. It's so people can see what their body responds to and they can adjust thoughtfully rather than guessing. See, the whole thing here is about intentionality. It's about being intentional with what we take and what we put into our body. And if we're taking blended herbs and blended capsules, we have way less control. There's actually no control. We're just putting in our body whatever's inside that capsule. We can't control the dosing. We can't control the quality. We can't control what our body responds to. We can't think through it thoughtfully. We can't make sure that we're taking the right things for our body. Instead, we're kind of just guessing. We're taking everything in the kitchen sink and hoping that at the end of the day, it works. But we find it works much better when we slow down. We take very few things in separate capsules so we can understand what our body responds to. We can adjust thoughtfully. We can adjust dosages as well as types of herbs. And we're not guessing anymore. We're actually seeing what works and what doesn't work for our body, just like Miguel did. And that is why the herbs are separate. And not only that, it also helps us with testing process as well, because, people say they third-party test their supplements, but they're putting a ton of ingredients into a giant vat and mixing them together. That's how the process works. And sometimes those vats are used for other supplements or even drugs or other harmful substances that you don't want inside of your capsules. And so you open yourself up to a bunch more risk in that process. And, people don't talk about this or know much about it, but that is how it works. And so we like to make it as simple as possible, one ingredient per capsule, so that we know for sure what we're getting in that capsule. We third-party test that ingredient to make sure there's nothing else in it, no heavy metals, no anything, no drugs especially, no anything negative or anything additional to that one single item. And then we put that into its own specific capsule. So now you have the ability to adjust. You have the ability to change the dosage. You have the ability to change the type of herb that you use. You have all of that control as well as the increased potency and quality of that product. And that's why LymeWars.com works so well for so many people. It's because they're getting all of that control, precision, and they're getting the dosage that they really need. So with herbs, the question is rarely, is this good or bad, right? It's a plant. It's not good or bad. It just is, right? It's usually, what is this supporting? And is that what my body needs right now? Okay, so it's really about what you're going through in your specific individual body. We're all unique. We're all different. We're all going through slightly different things. And so it's more important to get to the bottom of what you need right now and what's going to support you in the best possible way. And that's what we created at LymeWars.com. So that was lesson number 1, is herbs and learning how to actually use herbs. And it's not in the way that most people think. It's not by taking capsules that are just jammed packed with a bunch of different ingredients all at once. That's a way to use herbs. And in my opinion, it's not the best way. So that's why we keep them separate. We keep them high quality and potent, and we third party test everything. And that's the big lesson that I learned. And, back when I was doing this, I didn't actually have the ease of just going to LymeWars.com and getting a box sent over to me. I actually had to go and find these in whole bulk amounts, buy them in bulk, and then turn them into teas or tinctures or capsule them myself. And it made my house smell weird. It made, it made a mess, to be completely honest, in my house. And it was just a big hassle. It was annoying. It was expensive, and it wasn't fun. Like, it wasn't a cool way to do this. And so I wanted to make it easy and fun and make it just affordable and possible, really, for people to get this type of help without going through all that nonsense. And that's why we created LymeWars.com. But let's get into lesson number 2, which is presence. Now, I didn't expect that Lyme disease would teach me this lesson. And, it's not something that I never heard before. It wasn't like this new profound thing like, oh, I should be present. I didn't think of it like that at all. Everyone's heard that before, right? And you may have read the book Be Here Now I think it's by Eckhart Tolle. That's a book that I read during my Lyme disease journey, and it absolutely changed my life. I love that book. But this presence was thrust upon me because Lyme disease forces a slower pace. It forces us into a place where we say, okay, maybe I won't get better tomorrow, but I can still do my best every day, and I can still slowly make progress day by day. And that slower pace caused me to really be present with myself and in my body, thinking about how I feel every day, actually thinking about my physical space, my physical body, my feet on the floor, my breath going in and out of my body, my heart beating. These little things that we take for granted and usually never think about are now part of everyday life when it comes to Lyme disease and co-infections. And healing happens in smaller windows of attention. It doesn't necessarily happen with some crazy heroic treatment or some crazy focus for one day or 1 week. It usually happens slowly, day by day, over time, with small windows of attention coming throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. And so for me, it turned into trying to be present in everyday life, regardless of what I was doing. If I'm washing the dishes, I'm trying to think about the breath and feel the water, feel the dishes in my hands, feel the soap, right? Like simple. That sounds so simple and strange to a lot of people, but it really is about simplicity and about being present in the moment, whatever you're doing. When I'm driving my car, I'm focusing on the breath. I can feel my butt on the seat. I can see the world, the road in front of me, see the other cars. No matter what I'm doing, brushing my teeth, I'm thinking about being present. And I'm not just thinking about being present, because that's not really being present, is it? I was actually trying my best. Let's be honest, it's not going to work 100% of the time, but trying my best to be in the moment. And that especially helps with things like, having good relationships with your loved ones and with your kids and your family. For me, that became very important there as well. Just being present with the kids and listening and then responding, right? Not always looking at a screen on my phone or like distracted by everything in the world that we can be distracted by at all times. Trying to be present and be in the moment as often as possible is what ended up happening to me when I had Lyme disease. And this lesson was kind of thrust upon me. And presence becomes a survival skill, not a luxury, right? So it often sounds like a luxury. It sounds like, oh, that's nice for you, but I can't do that, right? But it's actually part of the process. It's part of getting better. The body needs that in order to start moving in the right direction. And I talk about this all the time, but a big part of what I was doing was listening to my body. And that's a lot of these things sound like woo woo or ethereal, or like, you're not able to grasp it fully. But that doesn't mean it's not true, right? There's something to listening to the body, connecting with what you're feeling in every single moment, connecting with how your body is feeling, how you're doing, your pain levels, your fatigue levels every single day. and using that as a skill, learning that skill. Even something simple like learning when you're full and learning when you're hungry. I used to be so terrible at that. Like I would eat past the point of being full all the time because I wasn't paying attention. I was distracted. I was thinking about other things or even watching something else while I'm eating. But I started to learn okay, I'm getting full now. I can stop eating. And that sounds like so first grade. Like this sounds like something that we should all learn when we're children. But I ended up learning this through the process of Lyme disease and through listening to my body in every way, including when I'm hungry and when I'm full. So just interesting. Wanted to add that. Lesson number 3, self-acceptance. So grieving who you were is part of healing, right? I mean, I was insanely active before I got sick, and I prided myself in being active and having lots of energy and being healthy. And then I got sick and I realized, wow, I wasn't healthy. I wasn't even as healthy as I thought I was. I had to slow down. I started sleeping insane amounts of hours. And when I was awake, I barely remembered being awake. It was like being in a fog. So it was like I was barely even there to begin with. And so once I started slowing down and trying to get better, I had to kind of let go of who I used to be. I had to kind of, lose that idea of my former self and start looking towards the future of who I could become and who I needed to become in order to get better. And so it required that I actually slow down and grieve who I was so that I could become who I need to be. And that required me to accept my reality. Because at first, I didn't. I was like, oh, I have to get better. I have to do everything in my power. I started exercising more for some reason. I thought maybe that would help because, if I'm healthy, then I'll be healthy, right? If I'm a healthy individual and if I do the things that healthy people do, I'll be healthy. So I started actually running more and lifting more weights and stuff. That did the opposite. That destroyed me. It hurt my immune system. It put my body under more physical stress. It caused me to crash. It didn't help at all. There's actually pictures that I look back on where I look like I'm in good shape, but there's big dark circles under my eyes. There might still be a little bit. I'm a full-grown adult. I don't have the easiest life. I'm good. I got things going on, and so there might still be some dark circles. You might be saying, Ryan, your eyes still have dark circles. All right, fine. But it was worse. Trust me. It looked like my face was sucked in, like you could tell by looking that I was unhealthy when I look back at old pictures. I should have included a picture of myself that I'm referring to in this presentation, but I didn't. But my point is, what I thought was making me healthy was really taxing my body and pushing my body more. It was putting my body under more stress. And so I had to accept, okay, this is not how to do this, right? I had to accept this. I need to slow down. I need to forget about, everything else in the world that I care about right now. I need to focus all of my time and attention on my body for the time being. And I called that, it's a season, right? We all go through different seasons in life. There's seasons where you are very devoted and focused on your family. There are seasons when you're very focused on your career or your finances. And then there are seasons when you are heavily focused on health because you're going through a health challenge at that moment. And that's where I was. I had to accept that. I had to say, okay, I'm going to put the other stuff on the side for now, and I'm going to focus everything on my health for this season. And I had to accept myself for who I was and be okay with that idea of putting other things aside while I focused on my health. And that requires self-acceptance and self-love in order to do. And comparison, right? Thinking about other people and what their health is like and how they're progressing in their Lyme disease journey or even in just their health in general. Like if you have a friend that's running marathons right now, but you're sick, you can't be running marathons. Don't compare yourself to that person. You are not that person. We're all individuals. We're all unique. Comparison increases suffering. And if I would look at other people and think, man, I wish I could be playing soccer. I wish I could be running, or doing an Ironman like one of my friends did. That comparison would just make me feel less than. It would make me, it would hurt my feelings pretty much. It would make me feel worse. And accepting where you are right now and the current journey that you're on, is not giving up. It's creating the space and the safety for you to go through the process and start to get your body back. Let that soak in. So I hope these lessons point out a few things that I wanted to share with you today. And I hope that these lessons help you. And I'm going to answer questions right after this. But what these lessons point to is that healing is not linear, right? This is what we want healing to look like, what we think it might look like, right? That straight line just going up, 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 up. But what healing actually looks like is a jumbled mess. It's up and down and all around, right? It's not going in a straight line. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be failures. There's going to be hard times. And then there's going to be really good times where you feel like, wow, this is working. I'm getting better. Things are going well. And then you might experiment with some herbs and take some herbs out of your plan, and then boom, your symptoms come back. And that's a setback. And then you use the herbs again, boom, you get back to where you were. There's constant ups and downs. Healing is not linear. And the nervous system sets the pace. We've got to do what we can to calm the nervous system down as often as possible. Activate that parasympathetic nervous system state by deep breathing, walking in nature, meditation for some people. Whatever works for you to calm your nervous system down, we've got to do that as often as possible. Because an overramped, overworked nervous system that thinks we're in danger causes a lot of the problems that we face with Lyme disease. So safety comes before strength, right? All of us just want to be strong and push through, but we've got to create the space to be in a safe state, feeling like things are working in our favor, feeling like we are safe, we are healthy, we are moving in the right direction. We have the time, we have the pace in order to get better and take our bodies back. Once we have that space and that safety, then things really start to snowball and move forward. So, before I answer your questions, I've got some questions of my own. Which of these lessons has shown up most for you? Is it the herbs? Have you experimented with herbs and learned a lot like I did? Is it, what was the second one? Is it not self-acceptance? Self-acceptance is the third one. Let's see. I'm just going to go backwards. There we go. Presence. That's right. So is it the herbs, the presence? Is it self-acceptance? Which of these lessons has shown up most for you? And what has Lyme disease been trying to teach you lately? See, it's my belief that the world gives us things, you could say the world, you could say the universe, you could say God, whatever you believe in, puts things on our path that we can handle and that we need to handle, that we need to go through. And it's up to us to pull the lessons out of those hard times, right? We're going to have hard times. We're human beings. It's up to us to pull from those hard times and learn the lessons we're supposed to learn so we can grow and move forward with newfound clarity or hope or a change in behavior, whatever it is we're supposed to get from it. That's up to us. So what has Lyme been trying to teach you? And that's all I have for you today. Now I'll answer some questions. Okay, Tamara, this clarity is so helpful. Awesome. I'm so glad I can be helpful. If I only help you, Tamara, I've done my job, and that's all I can hope for. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time and attention. I know you could be doing lots of other things, but the fact that you showed up here today for yourself, for your body, thinking about how you can get better, that says everything about the type of person you are. So I want to thank you, but I also want to congratulate you and say, keep going, keep showing up for yourself, and keep trying your best. You're on the right path. Yes, being in the moment is essential. It's all we really have is now. That's so true. I always think about that too. I'm always like, I think about that so often. Like, the past happened, it came and went, right? The future, we have no clue what's coming. Literally all we have is right now. And that's kind of weird. Like, if you think about that too long, I don't know about you, but if I think about that for too long, or not too long, but if I think about that, sometimes I feel a little weird. Like, it gives me sometimes it comforts me and it feels good. Other times it feels a little bit strange to think about. I'm like, wow, all we have is literally this moment right here, right now. And the fact that you guys are sharing this moment with me, it means everything. It means everything to me. So I do want to say thank you for that. And, I do my best to show up here to provide value and to give back to the Lyme disease community as often as possible. We do this every Wednesday, by the way. And when people show up, it really means everything to me. So I do really appreciate your time. And then hopefully I'm saying your name right. Looks like Bushra Khan 152. It's the username. Acceptance. So acceptance is the number one thing Lyme has been teaching you. That's great. Yeah, we have to accept where we are in the process. We have to accept ourselves as who we are, right? Because it's really easy to just constantly be striving to change ourselves and to become someone new, especially with the way kind of, at least in the United States, that's how it works. Like, everyone constantly wants to strive for more and become more. And maybe you can relate to that. But accepting where we are right now is really the only way through a hard, challenging health challenge like Lyme disease and co-infections, especially just accepting that, okay, the other things can wait. The other things that we want to focus on in our life, they're not any less important. We're just not in that season right now. We're in the season of health, season of putting everything we have into healing. Thank you again for the uplifting conversation. Of course, always happy to be here and provide as much value as I possibly can and try to uplift as many people as I can. The one thing I've learned from this Lyme journey is staying positive and keep moving. Absolutely. Just keep trying day by day. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. Celebrate the small wins, right? Even if you feel 5% better, 10% better today than yesterday, that's something to celebrate. That's something to focus on and to feel good about. And then continue down the path. Keep going, keep moving day by day. You're absolutely right about that. So, this is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. And I will see you next Wednesday for the Lyme Healing Circle. And of course, check out my channel. I just uploaded a 55-minute video about exhaustion and Lyme disease fatigue and what it means and why it happens. And I've been doing those longer form type videos lately. I would love to hear if you like those videos, or if there's anything specifically you have questions about or you want me to make a video about. I will be more than happy to oblige. Just let me know in the comments. And keep looking out. I've got another video that should be dropping tomorrow. And I will continue showing up day by day to help those with Lyme disease get through this difficult health challenge in their life. And I hope you continue showing up for yourself as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.